Looking at the most controversial version of Resident Evil independently and regardless of the recent success of the franchise's remakes or new games, it should be said that Resident Evil 6 should not be remade. But why? RE6's long, aimless storyline, flawed cover system, poor shooting, and overemphasis on QTEs make this version one of the most unfortunate games of all time. Perhaps a modern remake can improve the shooting mechanics and eliminate or reduce the QTEs, but the game's story needs a major refinements, and even then, we're dealing with a mediocre Resident Evil. But imagine that the Resident Evil 6 remake is confirmed. We want to answer the question of which part of the original can appear in a successful modern remake and which part need to be changed. Leon Kennedy's storyline is clearly closer to the franchise's traditional horror style than other parts of the campaign, so his campaign is worth rebuilding. Virus C and its ability to create terrifying creatures are other positives of the game. Also, the gathering of famous characters in the series to deal with a global threat was undoubtedly fascinating. On the other hand, the recent success of the modern and remake versions of Resident Evil increases confidence in the developer team ability to streamline and improve the RE6. The RE team did this indirectly in the Resident Evil 3 remake, removing parts of the original campaign, abandoning chosen story path, and reducing the impacts of Nemesis may have been detrimental to that game, but such a changes can turn out to be positive for Resident Evil 6. For example, a story centered on Leon and Chris with the possible presence of Ada Wong as a sub-character or DLC could drastically enhance the gaming experience. The Jake and Sherry campaign should be removed from playable content entirely, as it not only doesn't affect the main story but it also damages the rhythm of the game. One of the main problems with Resident Evil 6 is instilling any gradual sense of fear that the Resident Evil series is known for, his giving away to the senseless action and non-stop shootout. The remake version should drastically reduce the action. The Resident Evil Village, for example, strike a good balance between action and fear, and the Resident Evil 6 remake should follow suit. In addition, the story should not revolve around the C-virus pandemic and rather its consequences where it's the protagonist's struggle to prevent it widespread. One of the major issues in Resident Evil 6 emphasis on a collaboration. Each of the main characters come with a supporting character, but their presence seems to be more in tune with the previous version, in which Chris Redfield fought alongside Shiva Alomar in Africa. Nevertheless, the complete elimination of this theme and the limited use of companion can increase the game's focus on the story and gameplay. If these major things are applied, it can no longer be considered a remake, and these major changes are likely to be more like a reboot, and the final product will not be similar to the original version of the game at all. The bigger debate is whether it would be better for the development team to focus on the new games in the series, except for a possible remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica, which many believe should have been made after Resident 3 remake. So maybe it's better not to remake Resident Evil 6 because it wasn't even a favorite title for the fans of the series at the time of release. Rumors have it that the ninth installment of the Resident Evil series has been in development since 2018, which is considered the most ambitious project in the series, and it's scheduled to release in 2025. Perhaps the best decision is for Resident Evil 6 to remain in the same story of the series.